Okay, there we go. Yes, yes. If only Twitter were always so easy. He says with sarcasm in his voice. Yes, yes. Oh, fantastic. Good, dropping 37% of my frames. Great start. Great start. But we're here. We're alive. And, that's not always the case, is it? No. Unfortunately, it is not always the case. Yeah. Okay. Get this up. Move this over here. We'll be starting here in a minute or two. Make sure my internet is not killing itself. Oh, I can't say that, can I? YouTube will get angry at me. We want to make sure we're using this. Yeah. There we go. That might be a bit more stable, yeah. Alright. Yeah. Hey there, hi there, Hyde here. I'm alive. Or, I'm dead. I'm not quite sure. I feel one or the other, right? Yeah. It's good to see you all. Now it's been a week or two since I've played Fishing Universe Simulator, right? And you'll notice that I have almost no money. That's because I bought a few things. We're gonna have some fun today. Yeah. Going back to the same familiar river, but we're gonna have some fun. Yeah. Do something new. Oh, it's raining. I hate raining. Yeah, we have buttons on the other side here. You see these buttons? We have a boat, we have a fish finder, and now we have this net. Now I have to remember how to use these. Can I use the boat? I don't think I can use the boat here. No, okay. We just jam ourselves into the riverbank. It's almost good. Yes, hello Diana, good to see you. I am very tired today. I'll be honest with you, this is probably going to be a shorter stream. I'm just... I don't know. I feel sick, I feel tired. My arm is killing me. Still have the tendonitis. And I haven't been able to take ibuprofen because I was abusing ibuprofen apparently. Right? Like, if you read the back of the ibuprofen bottle, if you're old enough to need ibuprofen, you can read the back of the ibuprofen bottle, and it will say, do not exceed 6 tablets or whatever in 24 hours, and then there's a maximum recommended of like 10 days of use. Yeah. Well, the hope is nice, Diana. I am sorry I cut out. The connection does seem to have... Right when I connected it, it did seem very unstable. But it's looking okay right now. I am still very much in pain. In fact, I am in more pain now than ever. It's fantastic, really. Right? Because... Oh, we got a salmon. That's great. Mainly because I can no longer take ibuprofen without risk of, well, you know, ibuprofen. I'm getting to it, you know? I can't take any more ibuprofen without risk to my, gastrointestinal tract or something. I don't know. Kidneys, liver, who needs those? Right? Like, people, they can get kidney transplants. I knew a person whose father had, like, 7 kidneys. And you know the interesting thing about kidney transplants is, They don't get rid of the old kidneys, they leave them in there, right? So your abdomen just gets Spider Zim episode. Which is pretty cool if you think about it, right? Like, you have all of these partially functioning organs inside of you, and some of them aren't even yours. I always thought that was fascinating. I don't know if I'd ever want it. This doesn't sound accurate, Hyde. No, no, I swear it is. I swear it is. Look it up. When you get a kidney transplant, sometimes they leave the kidneys inside. Now, I imagine after so many kidney transplants, you wouldn't get any other kidney transplants, but medicine is a corrupt field like all things. X to doubt. You know, I was considering buying LA Noire and playing that on stream. It does seem like the kind of game that I would like. Playing a potentially corrupt cop who is just hassling everyone he meets, accusing them of crimes they have not committed. It is on sale for the Switch, but I did not buy it. I don't really like the war segments, you know? Like, I understand how critical they are to the story. Oh yeah, it is very rough today. Let me check my connection again. You are absolutely correct. Like, I was streaming, the Dracula thing and I had no problems. And here I am today with nothing but problems. I don't even think there's a storm going through, you know? I think it's just doing this for no reason. Let's connect this to that. This series of tubes to that series of tubes. Let's see if that does better. Yeah? Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, I am monitoring it. It was a very cursed day, so maybe the internet issues are actually there for my health benefit. Hard to get Wi-Fi out on the lake? Yeah, yeah. We're on a river, thankfully. Like, most of the maps on this, in this game are on the lake. This is one of the few river ones, which is really great because I prefer rivers. Also, hello. Hello, good to see you. Skij. Skej. You must get that a lot, right? I know you, I know you do. The pronunciation of your name. Yeah. I saw you were, streaming on Twitter recently a lot, which I didn't even know was a thing. Goes to show you how much I know about Twitter, right? I'm an old man, I can barely use the internet. You're asking me to, know about Twitter streaming. I can't do it. But it's very interesting, that there is that new platform, right? Yes, yes, thank you. It's good to see you. I'm doing horribly today, if I'm being honest, but I'm soldiering on, right? Nothing can get between me and my fishing trip. Just like real life. When I feel like I'm going on a fishing trip, I'm going on a fishing trip. It doesn't matter what I have to put aside, right? Like, I could pass a school bus full of burning children. I'm going on my fishing trip, okay? That's what I'm doing. Yeah. Sometimes you need it, right? Like, I can't be like a lot of VTubers out there and constantly attached to the internet. I can't do it. It's not me. I need to... Oop, yeah, there goes the internet again. I need to be in nature every now and then. It's one of those things where I need to touch grass. It's not like... Hyde has very dark humor. Yeah, I'm very sleep deprived. The tendinitis has been keeping me up, and that's probably adding to the issues, right? It is not allowing me to sleep, and I have not been able to sleep very well for about a month now, which is about as long as I have been taking ibuprofen. On the bright side, now that I'm no longer taking ibuprofen, I can drink alcohol again, right? Like, that's the main thing that was keeping me from drinking my nightcaps. The fact that, it would exacerbate the medicinal, I don't know, active ingredients. There would be drug interactions. Like, I never thought I would have to worry about that. I rarely even take... Oh yeah, there goes the internet again. I rarely even take ibuprofen. But here I am, going a month strong. So I've been sober from ibuprofen for 2 days now, and my sleep quality has declined even worse over these last 2 days. No, no, Diana. No. The decision was to not die, right? To not cause any kind of, damage to my organs. That was the decision to stop drinking. Although I am probably going to limit myself much more than I usually do. Like, I was drinking about 6 ounces of coffee wine, and a typical glass of wine for that strength would be, what, 4 ounces at about 13%? So I was drinking about 1.5 glasses of wine per day, which is well within the, ooh, big fish, well within the standards set by the CDC about 20 years ago, which are no longer valid. Oh, look at that. That's a nice bass. um, Technically they were morning hikes. I don't like hiking, in the night. It's very creepy to go on night hikes, you know? Like, not only is it dangerous because you never see what you can, stumble across. There are all those tree roots and stones that just jump right out at you. But there are also other things that haunt the woods at night. Things that cause terror. Things that shriek like humans and mimic their voices. Which are no longer valid. Technically. It's a technicality. They are still the published science. They are just a couple decades old, you know? Now, the CDC and the Surgeon General, they recommend that there is no health benefit to any amount of alcohol. But 20 years ago, it was healthy to have a glass of wine or two per day. And 40 years ago, it was healthy to have a half a bottle of Jack Daniels per day. You know? So it really depends on what time you're living, as opposed to what the health rulings are, right? In another 30 years, I'm sure they'll say a whole bottle of wine is perfectly fine. Maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll catch up on time to the research. I do think that, like, I get where they're coming from. There are health risks associated with drinking alcohol, and there's never going to be no health risk associated with alcohol. It is a drug, it is a depressant, it is dangerous, so you gotta be careful with it. But at the same time, I do think there are health benefits that aren't recognized physiologically. Like, they're worried about liver damage and organ failure, but I'm worried about stress, you know? You're starting to sound like your mother. I am old. I have to put that out there. I'm an old man, and the less sleep I get, the older I feel, and thus the older I become. I don't know. Like, I think I'm talking a lot of sense here, right? I think I'm talking a lot of sense, and that's probably why my ISP is giving me so much trouble. They don't want me to tell you the truth, that everything you know is a lie, and it's all agreed upon as an intersubjective construction. Can't drink too much? Oh yeah, gallbladder. That sucks. I don't... Oh. That's rough. I have family who had to have their gallbladders out. That makes it sound wrong, right? Like, yeah, they had to have them out. But yeah, it is not ideal. Like, that thing, it seems worthless, right? It's such a tiny little organ, but it's so important to the functioning of digestion. Nice trout. That I can't even imagine not having it. Like, thankfully I don't get gallstones, but if I ever were to get gallstones, my gallbladder would just be out of me too. So I have to be very careful with my diet. And I have heard that drinking is especially difficult with your gallbladder out, yeah. So you have my sympathy there, yeah. Not a good idea to wear a tinfoil hat in a lightning storm? Actually, I don't know. Is tin conductive? Like, I know all metals are conductive to some degree, but some metals are more conductive than others, right? Like, I have what is probably a fiberglass fishing rod with metal on it at the tip, so that's probably pretty conductive, and it is taller. I'm not going to get struck by lightning on the top of my head. That would be a very unlucky lightning shot, right? If anything, my lightning rod of a fishing pole would get the lightning, yeah. Or maybe it's like tinfoil reflects things, right? Like it's shiny, it reflects light. And lightning is comprised of light, right? I'm pretty sure that's what the science says, that lightning is comprised of light. So if tinfoil reflects things like a shiny surface does, it's reflecting light. Therefore, tinfoil should reflect lightning. Google says it does conduct electricity. Well, I don't trust Google anymore. I haven't trusted Google ever since they added that little AI thing to the top of it. We talked about that before, right? Like, that's gotten me like 3 times now. I was asking Google. Yeah, I was asking Google. Oh man, that makes me sound even older, doesn't it? Like, ask Jeeves, but ask Google? Yeah, okay. So I was searching on Google, and I wanted to know what the SI measurement unit thingy for time was, right? Like, I know it's the second, but we don't use traditional prefixes for seconds, right? We use non-standard time units, even when they're SI. No, I didn't read the AI. Good! They're liars! They're a bunch of liars. I was asking about the SI units of time, and why we don't use things like decaseconds instead of minutes and hours, right? And oh, we should probably go back and finish fishing here. But we don't. It's very strange. Like, Americans get all this grief for still using this non-standardized, not base 10 unit measurement system. And, like, the rest of the world is still doing it too. They're just doing it selectively. They're only doing it with time, which has, I don't know, multiples of 60 of all things. Multiples of 60, and then you get to 24, and then you get into days and weeks, and it's all a mess. Like, if you're going to complain to me about American imperial measurements, go ahead and fix your time measurements. And I don't mean just putting your months ahead of your days, because it really doesn't bother me. If you want to do that, that's great. Go ahead. But personally, don't give me grief about using feet and miles, because I'm just not there for it. I don't want to hear it when you're still using seconds and minutes and hours. Yeah, it's just as non-standard. But how did I get into this? Right, the AI thing. I was asking about that, and I was asking about whether or not the decasecond was a real unit of measurement used by scientists, and the AI thing said, yeah, a decasecond is 109 seconds. And I was like, no, that can't be right. And I was correct, it wasn't right. It took me another 5 minutes just to realize, me. It would be very easy for AI to conquer the world with how much I just don't care about thinking, right? Like, I know what a decasecond should be, based on what a decameter is, which is a unit of measurement that no one uses either. It really is ridiculous, though. The AI just gives the wrong answers, and... Oh, here's another example. Yesterday, I was looking up whether it were possible to save a character in a video game, and the AI said yes, you can save the character in the video game. And then they linked an article saying no, you can't save the character in the video game. It's very confusing. I don't know why Google did this. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Confusing your users? Making your service less usable? Making it less user-friendly? I think that's all they're doing, right? Like, I hate it. I'm just so burnt out on the Google AI that I wish they got rid of it. What's with that face, Diana? Did I say something strange today? I don't think I did. I think everything I'm saying today makes a lot of sense, right? It's all unfiltered Hyde sense. Hyde sense, yeah. So it's all real, it's all good, it's all factual. And I will not accept any other word on it, right? Yeah. Um, Speaking of, that video Dying Light, and I was very happy to see that Dying Light was also on sale on the Nintendo Switch. I picked it up for less than the complete Bioshock collection. Cringe about linking to the article saying, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Well, it is very cringe, right? You're supposed to be a search engine, you're supposed to help people learn things, and what you're doing is giving them not only wrong information at the top, but incongruent information, like, it's inconsistencies like that, which make me everything that you're trying to do with it. It'd be one thing if it just linked the article and said, you might like this, right? Like, that's what they used to do. They used to get payments from companies so that they would be linked first. And they still do. Ooh, we're getting very choppy here. Choppy water. Oh, man. Okay, I'll check my internet after this one. But yeah, they used to get money from people so that their first search were whatever they wanted it to be. And they still do that. But now it's because they're pushing the AI envelope. Big AI is lobbying something fierce here. And by big AI, I mean Google, with their Google AI. I guarantee they have their own models, right? Yeah. Wait a second, I just realized you said not about me this time. Are you implying that I'm cringe? I'm not cringe. I'm a speaker of the truth, right? I say the things that other people, you know, they're too afraid to say on YouTube. And that's why we're here, on this isolated bank, fishing in the rain. Uh-huh, yeah, I see that smile. Mm-hmm. I get the feeling like I'm not believed. When I'm saying nothing but facts, I'm not believed. Let me check my internet real quick. We are having a lot of problems tonight. We have dropped a quarter of the frames, which is much worse than usual. Let me check this. Maybe that'll do better. No, you're still choppy. A little bit better. I admit to being old, yes. I don't think being old makes you cringe, not inherently. Like, you can be old and not cringe. That's my goal. To be, specifically a cute old man. Right? Like, that's my goal. A lot of people, they want to be the gruff old man. I don't want to be the gruff old man. I want to be the cute old man that's feeding pigeons at the park, from breadcrumbs out of his pockets. Sometimes. I struggle with reading a lot, like all the time. My brain might just selectively process things. Right? Yeah. I don't know. But I do think that being a cute old man, you can do a lot of things that you can't do as a gruff old man, right? Like, if you're a cute old man, you can get away with murder. If you're a gruff old man, you're going to prison for the rest of your life, which is probably, for better or worse, short. That's right, Sketch. It is awesome. Except for the tendinitis. I do agree, though. There are benefits to being old, right? Like, people look at you differently when you say you're old. Yeah. Yeah, you get to do whatever you want. Like, you're at a very, stable part of your life. No parents to tell you this stuff, that's true. Um, Unless you're very unlucky, right? Like, maybe you're very unlucky, and, you know, maybe your parents are, I don't know, still telling you what to do, even when they're, like, in their nursing home. I think that's possible. I've seen that happen before. Not nursing homes. Thankfully, my grandparents were able to live unassisted for most of their lives, so I haven't seen that. But, They absolutely told my parents what to do. What do you mean, in the eyes of others, what I meant? Oh, I see. So cringe isn't something that I get to define. Cringe is something that others define for me. You know, I have a very lengthy topic about that. I've been saving it for an id sermon, right? I just haven't finished writing the id sermon yet. I have a nice parable written for the next id sermon, and it's mostly there, but I don't know. I wanted to make it, you know? And I don't think that's cringe, right? You can think that's cringe if you want to think that's cringe, but I had fun hunting Draculas for about an hour. Look forward to it. It was a stream last week. Yeah. You don't have to look forward to it. It's on the channel. Although I am thinking about editing it down to a more sizable or more manageable size, right? I think that'd make a good video. I put some production value into it, right? I had editing, I had acting. Oh yeah, oh, that's I hope that was the good kind of family over, right? Like the fortunate kind, and not the kind where your parents are like still telling you how to do things out of their nursing home or wherever. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good time, and I very much liked the idea of it. Good. I'm glad it was the good kind. It's almost Halloween here, so there could be either or, right? Like, when it comes to Halloween, the spirits come out at night, and bad things happen. The dead are the closest to the living that they're ever going to be that year. So, you never know. Sometimes a family seance is necessary, but it's not necessarily the good kind of get-together, right? Yeah. uh, it's not a big salmon. Like, you could buy a bigger salmon from the store, couldn't you? Well, I can't. Unfortunately, I cannot buy a bigger salmon from the store. It's very interesting. I've noticed that the price of things has risen about 50 to 75%, right? Like, when it comes to inflation, there are different kinds of items to use as metrics. Things like essentials, and my favorite to use is sugar, right? Sugar always comes by the pound, right? Or the kilogram, I guess, if you're somewhere else. But here in America, it always comes by the American pound, not the British pound. And it always comes in 4 pounds, 1 pound bags, and like 5 pound tubs. It's very interesting, the tubs. But having a consistent weight, you can tell the cost of inflation much more easily than if you were to use something that had less consistent weight or volume to it, right? Gasoline is another good one, except it is so subsidized that it's very hard to tell what the actual price of gasoline is, and it is one of those resources that is wildly inconsistent in how much is allowed into the market, how much is available, how much is refined. But sugar, although there are sugar subsidies, they are much lower, so it much more accurately reflects the inflation that you are experiencing. And I noticed that my sugar now costs about, what was it? Like 4 pounds cost $4. 2 years ago, it used to cost $2.89 or so. So that's a ridiculous price increase, isn't it? Let's check out where the boat goes, right? We want to check out the boat. This is a pier one. So we're going to the lake here. Yeah. I'm eager to see what the boat does. I haven't tried it yet. I just bought it before stream. Let me boat. Please, let me boat. How do I boat? Oh, wow, okay. Okay. Wow, look at these graphics. You feel like we're boating? I remember you tend to notice the changes in the price of meat. You can't do that though. Meat has variable quality, right? Like, I only learned this recently because I was getting all of my meat from vet suppliers, but apparently there are non-human grade meats out there, and they might be slipping those in instead of human grade meats into your grocery market, right? So you gotta be careful, not just with the inflation, but also the quality. Sugar, being white sugar, is always refined to about the same quality. How far are we going out here? Do you think we could make it to the other side of the shore there? I wonder if we could. We're searching now. Doubtful of you? Do you got a source for that? Yeah, I have a vet for my veterinarian mate, right? That was very good cast there. That's fine. I have sources for a lot of things, right? Like, obviously I have sources for meats. I have sources for vegetables. It's very nice. Look at this tiny thing. I don't know who you're calling silly. Like, I'm in a rowboat in a storm, uh, with the most turbulent internet that I've had yet. um, Fun fact, silly is my favorite adjective. The quality of everything is going down in terms of my stream, too. Yeah, it's true though. The quality of everything is going down in terms of food. Like, it's not even that you're paying more for less. You're paying more for something that's different as well. There are different suppliers with lower quality things. There are different, reductions, right? Like, I saw... I saw the comparison of Cadbury cream eggs over the last 10 decades, and shrinkflation is a real thing. Like, I don't know who wants to eat a huge Cadbury cream egg. I'm sure someone's insane out there and they like those things. But, yeah, shrinkflation is real. Subsidization is real. Lower quality everything is real. Sugars are getting replaced with high fructose corn syrup globally now, not just in the USA, thankfully. The more poison we pump out to the rest of the world, the less we have to consume for ourselves, right? Chicken is getting worse, yeah. Getting woody chicken. That's true. Um, one of the things about the chicken prices as of late is the increase in bird flu that seems to be affecting chicken populations every 6 months or so. Like, you would think that chickens wouldn't be so prone to such bird flus, but when you have big agribusiness keeping chickens on top of each other, yeah, that's gonna happen. You're gonna get bird flu. So a lot of young chickens in their prime, which would otherwise go into feeding your belly, are getting incinerated because they have bird flu and they're contagious. Am I moving? I don't think I'm moving. I think I've hit a wall. Yeah, I don't think I'm moving. Factory farming... I don't really like calling it factory farming. You know, that's not really what it is it? It's, well, I'd rather have lab-grown meat at this point, right? Yeah. Give me my meat berries. I was promised meat berries, right? You know what I'm talking about? There were scientists who replaced all of the plant cells in berries and grapes with animal protein cells. Like, there were monkey berries. I don't know how they'd taste, but I'd rather eat those than some of the food that we're being given nowadays. I think it's high time for it, too. And maybe Soylent Green as well. Right? There's always a time for Soylent Green. You know the interesting thing about Soylent Green? I'm pretty sure in the original story, Soylent Green wasn't initially people, right? Soylent Green used to be based on soy and green peas, I think it was. So it had green coloration, and it was a source of plant protein. But when that started getting scarce, that's when they ground up the people and added it in. Remember that meat berries? Oh, I have no idea. It seems like it was only just yesterday, but I'm sure in Hyde time, that was probably 2 decades ago, right? But yeah, that was a real thing. People were making meat berries, which is really cool if you think about it. Like they were making these scaffolds for living tissue. And that was supposed to be the aim of the project. It wasn't to make meat berries and sell them like some kind of weird chicken nugget. It was to make scaffolding for human flesh. For like burn victims and the thing. Yeah. Burn victims and people who would get mauled by bears. That used to be a thing, right? Getting mauled by bears, that's still a thing. Looking super quick, it's at least from 2019, yeah. Like, I know there are YouTube videos on it. That was 5 years ago. Can we have them yet? Yeah, that was just yesterday. 5 years ago was just yesterday, Diana. That's how it works. Time does what I say it does. Oh, that reminds me of something else I wanted to talk about. So I've been thinking about dreams a lot lately, right? Like, I don't usually remember my dreams. I had a dream the other day and I remembered it, but now I don't. And I was wondering, why do I forget my dreams? And why do most people forget their dreams, right? Like, dreams seem like such vivid things. When you're dreaming, they're the only thing on your mind, your only experience for the night. And they exist as real as any other subjective experience does. Only maybe the senses might be a little bit different. But they're real. To your brain, they're real. They cause real panic. They cause real happiness when they're happy. Real terror when they're a nightmare. They're real. But we don't remember them like we do other emotive events in our life, right? Like, we remember pretty much every emotionally charged moment of our lives, right? The time you almost got killed on the highway because a truck full of porta potties lost their porta potties and you had to swerve out of the way. Yeah, that's real. You'll remember that terror for the rest of your life. Brain goes, well, I don't know what the hell that was. Yeah, yeah. Dump some memories right out of your ear. It's a great way of saying it. Like, I was thinking something more poetic, like, dreams evaporate like morning dew in the sun. Um, but you know, dump some right out of your ear, that works too. So I was thinking about it, and if my internet cooperates. Oh, you know, I've had pretty stable internet as of late. I don't know what's going on tonight. It's very sad. It's not even, you know, Wi-Fi or Ethernet. It's always like this. Let me just check this again. Ooh, good stutter there. Great, fantastic. Okay. Please stop now. I would like to stream. Are we back? We might be back. I am losing a lot of frames, so it probably will be a short stream tonight. I was hoping to maybe stream a little bit longer if I could, but that's okay. Sometimes the internet does not work with you. Yeah. So... Oh, we're dropping even more frames. Great, fantastic. Anyway, so I was thinking about it like a state-based memory, right? Like a drunk will remember things that he experienced while drunk, but while sober, he will not remember them. That is called state-based memory. And I think it relies on the brain's perception of the events that occur, right? So if the state is similar, so is the person, and thus the memories are as well. And that made me think, if I were a drunk, and if I lived a double life, say I were Jekyll and Hyde, Because that's what Jekyll and Hyde, the story's about, right? The dangers of drinking and doing drugs, the double lives those can lead to. But if I were a real Jekyll and Hyde, and I had a drunken persona, and he was a very violent person, but when I was sober, I was a very kind person. Like, would I be that drunken persona? Or would that be a different person entirely, right? Like, that person has an entirely different set of memories, state-based memories that I do not have access to. So those aren't my memories. Drinking, Yeah, I'm not a violent drunk, though. And I rarely get that drunk anyway. Um, Twice in my life have I blacked out. And neither of the times were my fault. I will throw that out there. Anyway, yeah. So I was thinking, are we the same people, if that's the case? And I would argue we're not, you know? Wasn't saying you were. Okay, guilty conscious. Okay, sure, sure. My conscience is clear, okay? The more I deny it, the more truthful it sounds, correct? Yes. The more forceful and the louder I am, and the more violent I get, and the more aggressive, the more accurate it seems that I am not violent or aggressive. Yes. No. So, I was wondering if that would count as a different person, or if I was both of these people, and I was the one or the other, depending, right? Like, I don't have to be the same person as both of them together. I could be either or, depending on the state, right? Just like a dream. I could be a dream Hyde. That sounds wrong. I could be a dream me while I'm dreaming, and those state-based memories of my dream self would have a completely different life. I'm about as intimidating as a golden retriever. Puppy. Oh, oh. I don't know. I could be pretty intimidating. Like, you gotta watch the Hunting Dracula stream. I was pretty darn intimidating. Little guy. I don't know. Like, I am going for cute old man energy, so that's okay. Good bike there. Did we ever get anything from this fish finder? Like, how do I search? Okay. There's an eel over there. Do you think we could catch an eel? Like, in real life, fish finders wouldn't be like this. They could tell you the shape of a fish, but that'd be about it. This seems like future technology, right? Yeah. I was watching a zombie movie the other day because I couldn't sleep. I put it on, and they had motion trackers, like out of Aliens, right? In fact, I think the whole zombie movie was just a rip-off of the movie Aliens. With zombies and a lower budget. Which is saying something. Yeah. It wasn't very good. I turned it off about halfway through when they entered this outpost. It was an island instead of an asteroid. But, you know, they had their own big corporation that was evil and running human experimentation with the zombie flesh. Zombie things are my least favorite. Oh, they're my most favorite. I love zombie media. Oh, you don't like the eating people aspect. The murder's fine, just not the eating people. I see. You know there are cultures out there that are still cannibalistic. Like, ritual cannibalism is still alive today in some parts of the world. Yeah, that's true. It is. Exactly? I don't understand. What's wrong with eating people, other than the prion disease and the kuru, and, you know, all of that? It's not your thing? You wouldn't eat a person if you were given the opportunity to? Like, sure, if it were legal. Yeah, why not? Eat a human burger, right? Why not? It's legal, right? Yeah. There are no objections when things are legal. And yeah, like that's the major problem, right? The legality of it. That there are no moral or health objections to eating people. It's all about legality, which I find fascinating. Prefer not to. Well, you know, you've probably eaten something that has eaten people before. Yeah, I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee it. You have eaten something that has eaten a person before. Yeah. Especially if you have a very loose definition of eating, right? So you've eaten vegetables that were grown in human corpses. I guarantee that. Everybody has. You've probably eaten bugs. Fungus, yeah, fungus, absolutely. Decomposers. But I was thinking like bugs. No, not germ bugs, no. Like creepy crawly, like flies. Yeah, you were ahead of me. Except you're like 10 seconds behind me, right? I'm living in the future. You're all experiencing me in the past. Time dilation is a strange thing. uh, I don't think that actually counts here, right? Like, it's very interesting. Assuming my internet is working correctly, the maximal speed of transmission of energy or transmission of data would be the speed of light, right? But even then, you're not going to get the information until after it's already happened. So unless you can be in the future and get the information before I actually do the act, you're not ahead of me. I'm ahead of you. And I always will be. Yeah. I don't really like this boat, by the way. Like, this boat is a piece of junk. Can't even get to the other side of the bank. Like, I want to get to those two-dimensional buildings over there. Imagine what they hold, right? You know the great thing? This game was made, as far as I know, in the 2020s. And Dying Light, the game Dying Light, came out in 2015, which is an interesting year. But it came out over, I don't know, over 5 years after that game, Dying Light. And that game, you could go anywhere you wanted. You could climb anything. Here, you have a whole boat and a huge expanse of water, and you can barely go anywhere in the boat. You had invisible walls. That's kind of a step backwards in a way, isn't it? Yeah. I do have Dying Light on the mind, though. Again, zombies. I do like zombies. And I saw, like, I don't know how I missed it, but Dying Light is getting a new game series, I guess. Well, a game in the series. It was supposed to be DLC for Dying Light 2. That's a big carp. Look at that stupid little eye. Look at that. Look at how the eye is at the bottom of the mouth. You're not gonna see anything like that. You're just gonna look downward at the soil and the gross stuff at the bottom. Because that's all you do. You eat the gross stuff at the bottom. Yes, I will berate the fish I catch. And no, I will not release them. Yeah. So Dying Light has a new game coming out. And that's probably why Dying Light, the original, is on sale, right? Ooh, good question. Do I like zombies or do I like the zombie scenario? I wouldn't want to be alive in a zombie scenario. Like, I'm not one of those crazy survivalists who would, you know, enjoy the downfall of society. No, I'm not one of those. I do like the portrayal of the downfall of society, if that counts, you know? I think it's very interesting to see how humans react to that kind of thing. Like, a lot of people have faith in the human species. I have very little faith in the human species, right? Like, I'm surprised that we've lasted this long as a species. Oh, I missed it. But I'm very surprised, right? And I don't know. Like, zombie stories allow people to show the best of humanity while also showing the worst. That's why I like the downfall, the initial outbreaks. Oh, I like the genre because I was traumatized by Night of the Living Dead. as probably an 8-year-old or so. It's probably younger, in fact. It was kindergartner before. That seems like just yesterday, except I can't remember any of it. So yeah, I got traumatized watching that when I was young, and in order to not be traumatized by zombies anymore, I decided to watch every zombie film that I could find, and I did. I watched every zombie film I could find, and I continue to do so to this day, because I'm in control of the fear now. The fear does not control me. I control the fear. Um, when I ran out of zombie movies that were easy to find, I moved on to zombie video games, which is how I got into watching Resident Evil. I never played Resident Evil. I'm not a gamer. It should be pretty obvious that I can't game. Like, this is the maximal extent of me gaming. Me catching fish, right? It's a very repetitive loop, but it's very fun. Yeah. Speaking of, I saw a game was getting popular among streaming circles, right? Called web fishing. Web fishing is a very cute game, and it looks much better than this because of the stylization of it. I'm never going to play web, but I was ahead of that curve, right? Like, I started out fishing before it was cool. Oh, Dave the Diver? That's also on sale on the Nintendo Switch right now. I know, because I look at the Steam, or yeah, the Switch sales and the Steam sales. I'm always on the lookout for games on sale. But to answer your question, no. I've never played it. I have watched a playthrough of it. And I find the restaurant management portion of it is the portion of it that gives me the most hesitancy to play it. Like, I like collecting things. It's very fun to collect things, but it's not so fun for me to manage a restaurant, right? So I'll probably never play it. And that's probably okay, right? Like, I don't have to play every game that interests me. I've never been the type to do that. But if the opportunity ever arises and, like, it's on sale for $1, maybe I'll pick it up and I'll give it a play. I kinda doubt it. I do have a lot of games in my backlog now. I really do have a lot of games in my backlog. I've got things on Steam, I've got things on the Switch, so I've got things that I have to go through. Things like Aviary Attorney, that's on the list. I have Norco, or is it Narco? I think it's Norco. I just bought Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 on the Steam sale, because they were like $2 each, why not? I might have even gotten the Fallout Tactics one. Yeah. Restaurant portion is pretty easy to manage. I hear it is, but, you know, I just don't want to do it. Ah, look at this. It's a bright, sunshiny day. No rain. No thunder. Oh, look at that. That's wonderful. Isn't nature beautiful? This is just what it looks like when I'm outside, fishing on a stream bed. Yeah. Yeah, just like this. Like the rock texture, it looks exactly like that. An undifferentiated scarred mass that looks more like rhino skin. That's exactly what rocks look like. I've never really been one for resource management games, right? That's the only resource management game that I might have enjoyed was like SimCity on the SNES, which had great music, by the way. I really enjoyed SimCity. And there were cheat codes for it, which made it easy. I didn't have to worry about managing things because I could just cheat them in. I think politicians nowadays call that printing money, right? That's what they do. They get the Fed to print them money. Although the Fed is actually an isolated institution, so it's not actually regulated by the government. Yeah, the Federal Reserve. So do remember that. Some of your favorite? Oh, you also like strategy games. Oh, I'm not great at either. I don't have the brain cells for it, you know? Like, I'm just not smart enough. I have old man brain. I've never been good with either. management games like... Okay, I played some Harvest Moon for the Game Boy. I guess it was the Color, the Game Boy Color, and I played Harvest Moon 64. That was about it. For any kind of, I guess... It isn't really a farm management game, though, right? Like, it doesn't actually require you to manage resources. It's more of managing what you do during the day. Brighter than you? No, not at all. People overestimate me because I'm so, jovial and affable, right? That's a common thing, right? People who, have likable personalities, which I'm sure I do, they tend to be perceived as more intelligent than they are. Right? They seem more capable. Or is that people who are taller? I always forget. It's probably a little bit of both. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Just assume that you're overestimating me, yeah? You think farming sims can be management sims? They are pretty light. I'd agree with that. Like, I'm not even sure I would include Harvest Moon in either of those. It's not a strategy game for sure. It's definitely very light on the sim, or on the management side of things, even though you're managing a farm. It'd be like calling Animal Crossing a management sim, right? There are management elements, but it's not the core of the gameplay. The core of the gameplay for Harvest Moon is getting yourself a cute wife, right? Yeah, you gotta figure out what your potential wife wants, what she likes, then you gotta get it for her, and give it to her every day. That's the core gameplay of Harvest Moon, right? If she likes flowers, you've gotta stalk her until you find out what kind of blue flower she likes, and then you give it to her every single day until she finally says, yes, yes, I will marry you. And then you win the game. That's how I always played it. What are you talking about? I don't know. What kind of what people? I don't see what you're talking about. Why that face? Anyway, yeah, that's how you play a game like Harvest Moon. It isn't about milking cows. It isn't about sickling things. Although that's part of it. You're mostly just there to create security so that you can get the kind of items you need. I remember some girls liked high-end products, like wool or cheese. So you need to get the cheese machine, right? I hated that. You gotta have high-grade cows, fed high-grade grass, and then they'd give you high-grade milk, and then you could put the milk in a cheese machine. Like, what is a cheese machine? I've never seen a cheese machine before. That doesn't seem like a real thing. And put cheese in a big vat, but you don't just put milk into a machine and get a block of cheese out of it. That seems so unrealistic. I wish it were true, though. If it were that easy, I'd be making my own cheese all the time. Instead, I have rennet tablets and acid for that. It was the Game Boy Color one was my first Harvest Moon game, yeah. It came in a black cartridge, which was pretty atypical for the Game Boy Color games, right? Yeah. So it was pretty fun. It was pretty interesting. It was very simple, though. And then I played Harvest Moon 64. Friends of Mineral Town? I don't remember that one. I remember the name, but I don't remember what they were called. Yeah. Sorry, can't tell you. That seems like just yesterday. Yeah, Game Boy Color. What did you think? Yeah, the Game Boy Color. I'm old, okay? You know the fun fact, I still have my Game Boy Color. And I was playing Wario Land 3 on it. Well, not too long ago, in fact. Probably last Christmas. I was playing Wario Land 3, which was a Game Boy Color game, I believe. It might have just been a Game Boy game. Yeah, it was one of those two, probably. It came in a black cartridge, so it was fun. Oh, Friends of Mineral Town is Game Boy Advance. I don't think I had the Game Boy Advance one. When it came to the Game Boy Advance, my interest in games changed, right? And I started playing other things. I played the Super, not the Super, the Mario and Luigi games on the Game Boy Advance. Those are fun. But other than that, I can't really remember what I played. I played a lot of Sonic games, right? Like, there were a lot of Game Boy Advance Sonic games. And I remember one had a Chow garden, right? A KO garden. Whatever you want to call them. I called them Chow gardens, right? CHAO. Yeah. And I would always, like, take the Sonic Adventures Chow and put them in there and train them until I got, like, the perfect Chow. And they were, like, golden ones and sapphire ones. And they were very cute. And that's how I played that game. Harvest Moon, known as Story of Seasons. Oh, the first one. Longest running game series you've liked. Oh, I see, I see. I didn't even know they changed. Yeah. I didn't know it was Story of Seasons now. I had no idea that the game was continuing. Like, I thought it was one of those things that just died off. Stopped hearing about it after a while. I don't remember too many after the 64, yeah. I don't know. Like, my interest changed, right? I started realizing I don't have the brain cells for it, and I'll never be good at managing things. Long story about copyright. Is it another one of those Castlevania incidents? I hate that. I was just lamenting the fact that there are copyright issues with a bunch of games, right? Like, I don't know if this is true, because I looked it up and it didn't seem true. But I remember it being true. Legend of the Mystical Ninja on SNES. I would really like that game to be put on the Nintendo Switch Online store thingy. And I know it was on the Wii U shop, and some before that, but I thought for a while it was in some kind of litigation hell. But apparently that wasn't the case, because I can't find information about it. Oh, I see. I see. Harvest Moon is still sold in the US, but is a different series. That's even worse, right? That's like a company merger, where they buy the name, and then they sell a different product under the same name, and they assert that it's the same product, even when you know it's not. That seems very sneaky. I don't like that. Yeah. That seems like a very not great thing to do. It really is? Yeah, it really is. I can only imagine that they wanted the name. But then again, you know, looking at it, sometimes that happens in history. There are big splits in companies, and, you know, it makes sense for legal reasons for one to keep the name over another, even if they don't make good use of it. I was thinking about Night of the Living Dead again, so that came up. Apparently legal, but it feels like it shouldn't be. Like, are they completely different companies, or are they a split, an offshoot? Because Night of the Living Dead, that split into Romero's of the Dead series. So like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, things like that, and Return of the Living Dead series. Both of those were offshoots of the same project, Night of the Living Dead, and it made sense for them both to keep different parts of the name. Here comes the story? Yes, please enlighten me. I've never heard anything about this. Or maybe I have and I've just forgotten it. See, I'm not very bright. My memory is very selective, and unfortunately, it's getting worse all the time. More selective, in fact. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Like, it's more selective. You think that'd be a good thing. Anything with more is a good thing, right? Like, if more things happen, it's good. But if it's less, it's bad. But in this case, more is bad. It's like decaf coffee, right? Decaf coffee is an interesting thing in and of itself. Assuming it was the original translation company for the series, they own the name and logo for Harvest Moon. company that made the game, Marvelous, did not own the name nor logo in English. Okay, so the translation company got the name. That's what you're telling me. The translation company got it, and the actual game makers do not own the name or the logo. Yeah, that does sound like it would happen, right? I could see that being problematic. But that's essentially what I was thinking, right? Like, split right issue. When Marvelous bought Xseed and decided to use Xseed for localization going forward, they no longer use Natsumi. Okay, yeah. That probably rubbed them the wrong way. I don't actually know if... I'd have to think about it, but that seems okay to me, right? Like, they should own the name if they own the name, and they should have the right to translate if they had an agreement. So I don't know. It feels icky, but at the same time, it makes sense. Still have the name and logo, and they started their own development studio. I see. So it's like inheriting the name. They are the new Dread Pirate Roberts. Instead of being Dread Pirate Roberts, they are the new Dread Pirate Roberts. Yeah. I see how it is. It's very interesting. I had no idea that was happening. I did like the game growing up, and I liked the N64 one, although I didn't get to play it as much as the Game Boy Color one. But the Game Boy Color one was one of my favorite games, right? Back in the Game Boy Color era, there weren't that many games that I actually liked, or could play. That was one of the easier ones, because I was still a bad gamer back then. And most of the commercials and ads, they make it sound like a continuation. Oh, I see. So your main issue is that they are capitalizing on the name as if it's a continuation of a series that they never developed in the first place. A decade ago? That was like, 2 days ago for me, right? If 5 days ago is just yesterday, a decade ago is twice as long, therefore it's 2 days ago. That hardly seems like that long, you know? I've missed a lot in the last decade. Yeah, exactly. Being old, time means a lot less to me, despite meaning a lot more to me, you know? Like, I have this theory that because a year is so long compared to the age of a child, right? The life of a child. A child is what? Somewhere between 8 and, I guess, 17 years old or so. 18 years old. Whatever you want to legally define it at. I had 3 hands there. That's 1/18th at most, right? Or at least. At least that is 1/18th of their life. A year. But when you get older, that fraction just gets smaller and smaller. So time seems to get shorter and shorter in a way, but also less meaningful, right? The notion of time becomes less meaningful because you have more years behind it. Yeah, that's how I see it. So a decade ago really does seem like 2 years ago. It seems a lot shorter, and yet at the same time longer. It's very confusing. I don't understand it. I try not to think about time as much as possible, right? Like, time is one of those things I don't want to think about. I'd rather not think about it at all, in fact. If you think about it, which I don't want to do, time is just one of those social constructs too, right? Like, how do we define time? You know there are entire cultures out there that have no concept of the passing of time? Or there used to be. I don't know if there still are, but there are historical accounts of tribes having no account of time, right? Like, they had a day-night cycle, that was about it. That's all their time was. It makes sense, though. In cultures where there are seasons, you have to plan things out in advance, right? So, you have to have a concept of time. You have to have a concept of predicting seasonality. You have to make months, and you have to make seasons, and you have to prepare certain things in certain seasons And you have to recognize these patterns. But in a more, I don't know what to say, resourceful climate, where the weather doesn't change as much, where resources are practically constant, and you don't have to worry about the seasons, it makes sense not to develop a meticulous unit of time. And here we are, still going by it. Not having a time system. Hard not to have a concept of well, they didn't have seasons. Like, their climates without seasons. Or their entire climate is one season. There are still yearly changes, yes, but they're a lot less easily recognizable as patterns, unless you're looking for them in the first place, right? It's like diagnosing a disease. You have to know the disease exists first in order to diagnose it, right? And if you don't know it exists, you can't diagnose it, and therefore you can't report it. You have to report the symptoms first, right? Yeah. And if you don't recognize that there are patterns to these symptoms, it's just these passing things, whims and fancies of the gods, or whatever else have you. Yes, there's still changes. Things like breeding seasons, for example, in animals. Yes, those things do happen, but you have to recognize it as a pattern instead of just the whims of the gods. You would think so, but not necessarily. Time is a paradigm, right? It's a very useful paradigm, but it isn't actually a real thing. We're seeing cause and effect, and we're assuming time out of it. But, you know, the cause and effect might not even be there in the first place. Effect might be causing time to seem like there's cause and effect. But it's hard to say. Chicken or the egg, right? Humans do recognize patterns, but they don't necessarily ascribe them to anything that is objectively real, right? So, a pattern could arise where, because a god told animals to have birth, they had birth during a specific time of the, year. But if you have no concept of year, then you wouldn't know that those are just fertility cycles in animals. You kind of have to have an understanding of biology to recognize that there's even something going on there. And even then, like, you could make a completely different reason, and it would be entirely consistent within the culture. So, no, I think there's a lot of variability in cultures, in the human mind especially. It's not that we're recognizing patterns so much as we're creating patterns, right? Yeah, we're creating patterns which are turned into paradigms. And some of them end up more universal than others, by which I mean universally pragmatic. But the truth of the matter is, just about any paradigm could be used or created, right? I could make a paradigm right now about why things burn, and I've done so before. I've created my own paradigms before, just to show how it's done. I don't want to do that. Like, that would take me a while to get into, but I can give you a quick example. I could use phlogiston theory, a debunked or outdated paradigm. I don't have to invent one. So, phlogiston theory, we've talked about that before. Things burn because they contain phlogiston. Internally consistent. Things with more phlogiston burn better. So wood contains more phlogiston. The patterns I was referencing are external patterns to people, such as those in nature. Well, so was I. I was talking about the breeding cycles of certain animals. Like, humans are very strange in that we can breed whenever we want, right? Like, there are monthly cycles to it. But humans are one of the animals that are technically most fertile, as far as vertebrates go. Something that exists outside of humans. Yes and no. You'd have to first assume that there is something happening outside of humans, right? The solipsists could be correct, although I think they aren't correct in that they're not being accurate. I think they're making the assumption of the eye, which I would not do. But you would definitely have to have an assumption of an external reality first and foremost. And you don't even have that to have human life, right? Human life does not necessitate the belief in external objectivity, right? That's just something that happens sometimes. Humans develop that thought. um, then you would have to make the assumption that humans have the ability to touch that external reality in some way. And then you would have to make the assumption that humans not only can touch that external reality, but they can make predictions about it, right? That there are some things like laws of nature, and that's where the problem steps in right here. They didn't necessarily assume that there were laws in nature. They assumed that patterns weren't patterns, or that patterns were ascribable to the whims of gods and whatnot. So it's not necessarily that the patterns didn't exist, although they might not have recognized them. It's hard to say. It could have been that they ascribed the patterns to something else entirely, not time, but the whims of another entity, right? We might be. I do that a lot. I do have different conversations than what I probably intended most of the time. It happens, right? Just being an old man, I kind of roll with things, and I tangent. And being a sleepy old man, like I am today, the tangents get worse and worse. And it does seem like the older I get, the worse it becomes. Yeah. I do apologize if I end up talking past you. I recognize I do it, and I do it quite often. Old man yells at clouds. Exactly. That's the cute old man energy I want. I'm so very close to being a cute old man, and I will get there. One way or another. I have a feeling that I will become a cute old man, and it's just a matter of time, right? I don't want to be the gruff old man. I don't want to be the intimidating old man. Those are cool and all, but I think cute old men can get away with murder, and gruff old men get put away for murder. Yeah, that's always been my philosophy, and I will repeat it as much as I can. I probably shouldn't be giving away these secrets, right? Like, the more cute old men there are in the world, the less cute I am in comparison. There is a sort of supply and demand thing going on here, right? There's more competition for cute old men if I encourage this kind of thought pattern. I already am a cute old man. That's right. Thank you. What? Last part what? I don't know what the last part was, Diana. What was it about getting away with murder? Like, obviously I'm not murdering people. And if I were cute enough to get away with it. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Yeah. We managed somehow, with only losing 12% of our frames tonight. Isn't that great? Like, I thought we would lose a lot more of our frames than we did. We started out with somewhere around 30%. But I had a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining me. Yeah. It's a good time. Other than the internet issues. Yeah. I have no idea what I talked about today. So I hope YouTube doesn't ban me tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Jekyll would get very mad at me. So, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. I love you all, but for now, hide out. See you all next time. Good night, all.